The Fringe Podcast, Season 5, Episode 10, An Origin Story.
This is Chris Tilton. I write the music for Fringe, and you're listening to the Fringe Podcast.
Support for the Fringe Podcast is provided by listeners like you and by this week's sponsor, Global Cash Card. Learn how Global Cash Card provides world-class solutions for pay cards, gift cards, per diem cards, flex cards, and more by visiting thefringepodcast.com/global cash card today. Welcome back to the Fringe Podcast, a podcast dedicated to the Fox television show
Brothers.
Yes. Do you recall this show?
I don't think so.
If I remember correctly, this was the show. I think it was on 2 seasons ago, and it had Michael Strahan in it. Does that ring a bell?
Michael Strahan.
Yeah.
I don't know who Michael Strahan is.
He was a football player. Anyway.
What's football?
Yeah, you're not a sports fan, but anyway, if that's not the show that I'm thinking of, if that's not Brothers, then I don't know what Brothers is. If that's not Brothers, then I don't know what Brothers is.
You got me. You know what we should do, Daryl?
What should we do,
Instead
Clint?
of talking about Brothers, since neither one of us know what it is, we should just talk about Fringe.
Oh, I thought you were going to say we should talk about your mother. But I think probably Fringe is a better idea.
Let's talk about Fringe.
All right, well, we're talking about the Season 5 episode.
And by the way, that's your mother comment for this episode.
All right.
You can't derail me with a mother comment in Science of Tomorrow. I'm already on to you.
I can't throw another mother out there?
Nope, you get one mother comment per episode.
All right. Well, we're talking about the Season 5 episode of Fringe entitled An Origin Story, and this was written by Joel Wyman.
Now, who's that? We've seen a couple episodes written by him before, right?
Yeah, he's kind of a big deal in the Fringe world. He's kind of the showrunner, the executive producer.
He's the guy that gets the script and then runs it to the...
That's right, the showrunner.
Yeah, he runs it back and forth.
When need some bagels over here! Wyman! Get some here with the bagels!
Here you go, sir.
That's what he does.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And this was written, I think this is the first episode this individual has written. I didn't look it up to confirm it, but it was directed by P.J. Pesky. Pesky? Pesky? No, it doesn't have an H in there.
Yeah, Pesky. That's how I'd say it.
All right.
Or Pesca.
And then he's the guy that looks over at the guy, and says, hey.
More fish?
What?
Sorry, it's a Latin joke. There's 3 people out there that got it.
I had a terrible joke heading your way, too,
Okay.
so yours is probably a little less terrible than mine was. Hey, what do you say we do some Fringe binge?
Hey.
It's time to get the scoop on Fringe. It's the Fringe Binge. The Fringe Binge.
Clint, we have huge, bittersweet news to bring to the fans today.
Is it that chocolate thing? Because I would refer to it as semi-sweet news, but...
Well, I love dark chocolate, which is a little more bitter than sweet. But that is not what we're talking about here today. No, we are talking about the announcement that Fox made on Friday, and that is the finale date. The series finale date has been announced. And so it's bittersweet because, we all knew it was coming to an end. We all knew that it would be in late January. We thought that it might be February 1st. But we all knew it was going to kind of be somewhere in that 3-week period. But now that it's actually been announced, which is January the 18th, by the way.
That makes it official.
It does.
That means that it's really going to end. It's really going to happen.
Yeah.
And it's going to happen on a date.
Yeah.
And that date is January 18th.
And I think also part of the deal is it's going to be a 2-hour finale. We're going to get we're still only getting 13 episodes. But so episode 12 and 13 will both be shown on January the 18th. So a little bit of me feels like we got robbed out of a week. We didn't get robbed out of any episodes.
Yeah.
But I thought I had more time, Clint. I thought I had more time.
Yeah.
But I don't.
You don't.
No. So January the 18th is the date for the finale.
January the 18th.
So what does that mean for us, Clint?
I think that means that we should have a party.
Party! Definitely should have a party here in Oklahoma City.
Will it be a bittersweet party?
We can have some dark chocolate there if that's what you're asking.
I'm in. I'm in for dark chocolate.
We don't have a final location secured yet. We have about 3 or 4 locations that we are visiting to see which one's going to work out best. I know a lot of you are wanting to know about hotels. I don't think they're going to have a hard time finding a hotel in Oklahoma City, but the other thing is they want to get a hotel in close proximity to the event. So we're working hard on that. We want to get that to you guys quickly. You can at least go ahead and make your airline or a car rental or however you plan on getting here, train, bus, whatever it is, walk, air up the bicycle tires, and start making your way to Oklahoma City. We at least have a date for you for that. So Friday, January the 18th,
yes, and
2013.
We may, being the operative word,
Mm-hmm.
have some other stuff if you come early or late, Daryl.
No.
Nope.
That's not going to happen.
Not going to happen. Oh, that's right.
Clint's talking about we were working on possibly doing like a Thunder game together or a hockey game, but now that the date has changed, there's neither one of them are going to be in town.
That's a bummer.
It is a bummer.
We can go see the Red Hawks.
No, there's not baseball season
in the middle of January.
Yeah. Although you know what they do at the Red Hawk Stadium in the middle of winter?
Yes, I do.
They make a huge snow ice. What is it called? A slide? It's a big slide thing.
Yeah, sledding thing.
Yeah, it's
tobogganing.
Yeah, so we could do that. That'd be fun.
That would be kind of fun. But
yep.
If you come from someplace that actually has hills or actually has snow,
then you won't be impressed.
It probably won't be fun for you at all.
But if you're, say, from Hawaii, who's maybe never seen snow, or from the Texas Panhandle, who has even fewer hills than we do.
Yeah, we've got trees here.
Yeah,
so
you might be impressed.
Yep.
Oklahoma City is a great place. Don't get me wrong. But it does not have an abundance of hills.
That's true.
But it's a nice place.
I love it.
Yep. I enjoy living here. All right, so that's going to be January the 18th here in Oklahoma City. More details will come, but like we said, you should at least be able to start making your travel arrangements. We will get the location secured as soon as we can, so that if you want to get the hotel as close to the party place as possible, then we can have that information to you. So we understand it's a high priority for us. We'll get that to you as soon as we can.
That's true. Speaking of high priorities, it's a high priority for us to tell you the names and the dates of the episodes that we know about.
Which is not much, but we do know a few.
It's true. So we've got November 9th, the 6th episode is going to air, and it's called Through the Looking Glass and What Walter Found There.
That's really interesting. It gets more interesting as the weeks go on, given the little portal we saw this week.
Yes, every little piece that they reveal makes the next episode that much more intriguing, I think.
Yeah, I do too. And it may have nothing to do with the portal. Last week we speculated it might have something to do with the window that we saw in the basement lab thingy. It might have something to do with neither of those.
That's right. We'll see.
Yeah.
The following episode will be the next week after that, November 16th, and that will be 5/20/10, which is really interesting. That's as Daryl mentioned last week, that's the passcode that William Bell and Walter Bishop have used for basically anything that they've locked. Which I have to say is not a very secure password.
If you use the same password for everything,
I know
you can be easily hacked.
That's right. They need to remember they have to use a lowercase and an uppercase. It needs to be at least 8 characters.
A symbol.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Like Prince. Yeah.
Prince, like thumbprints.
Prince's password is probably password 123. He's like, I already got the symbol thing. I'm just password 123.
I'm going to move on from that. We don't know the dates or the titles of episodes 8 through 11.
Nope. Nor when they will be airing.
That's correct. But we do know, as Daryl mentioned, episode 12 and 13 will be lumped together in a 2-part series finale on January 18th.
Yep.
Coming your way, and we'll be watching it live in Oklahoma City at our live watch party. So let me remind you very quickly now that we have a date, if you haven't commented, or even if you have commented, go to our website, the Fringe Podcast.
I put a new poll up.
A new poll?
I did.
A new poll.
So even if you voted in the old poll, we need you to vote again.
We need you to vote in the new poll.
Mm-hmm.
Or there will be a hole in my heart.
You've got to do some singing at the finale.
That's not going to happen. So get out there, vote on the new poll, and that will help us planning the size. Because if we're going to have 10,000 people here, we may just rent out the state.
The state what?
The state.
The state?
Yeah, the state of Oklahoma.
Oh, boy. Yeah. Someone in the chat room is asking if there's going to be a new episode on November 23rd. I don't think so. Isn't that the day after Thanksgiving this year? Isn't Thanksgiving a little early this year? So I doubt there'll be an episode then. I just don't know what they're going to be doing in December.
Or January.
Right.
Yep.
Okay, what else, Clint? I just moved the show notes and I have no idea what's
All
next.
right. Big thing, contest. We gave all of you Sandys, and I'm not making comment about blonde hair people, all of the people affected by Hurricane Sandy, an extra week, although I'm not sure that extra week would have done a whole lot.
Since many of them are still without power?
Still without power.
Yeah.
But the deadline is this Wednesday, November 7th.
Right.
Midnight, Central Standard Time. I have to say, I've looked at some of the contributions.
Uh-huh.
We've got some fantastic contributions.
We got several others in this week that I haven't yet uploaded to our shared folder.
Oh, my goodness.
So you haven't even seen all of them yet.
Comic books, stories.
We got music in this
week.
Yeah.
Crazy,
good
awesome
stuff. It's going to be a tough decision.
It is, but
really
it's going to be
is.
so worth it for you to spend the next 3 days.
Yeah.
Calling sick to work, take off of school, whatever you need to do to participate in this contest, and you have a chance of winning some fabulous prizes, Daryl.
Why, that's right. You win an all-expense-paid trip to Clint's living room floor.
That's not true.
Right. You'll have a sleeping bag and
False.
a pillow.
He's not telling the truth.
He'll cook you breakfast, French toast.
That's also
the next
not
morning.
true. I don't eat French toast. I'm allergic to eggs.
Oh, all right. How about this then? First place is going to get all 4 seasons of Fringe on your choice of Blu-ray or DVD, and a $500 Global Cash Card gift card, and my exclusive Comic-Con bag, which is now buried in the corner over there because I redid the studio. It's not being squashed. It's just placed behind stuff you can't see it, but it's there. I promise. And second place is going to get all 4 or just one
this
season? Just one season. Yep. I drew a blank there. Second place is going to get season 4 on your choice of Blu-ray or DVD, a $250 Global Cash Card gift card.
That's correct.
And third prize is going to get your choice of Blu-ray or DVD for season 4 of Fringe.
That's right.
Good stuff.
Unfortunately, HD DVD is not an option.
I know you're disappointed on that. You invested in the HD DVD. You were on the wrong side of that. Made your bet in the wrong place, my friend.
You know how much money I lost on that deal?
I think you told me one time it was about $15.
It wasn't $15. Well, no, you're probably right.
Yeah.
Because I think I actually purchased one.
Yeah.
I bought the player for $99.
Uh-huh.
I turned in the rebate, which came with 5 movies.
Okay.
And then they killed it. And then so I took the player back and got all my money back and got to keep the movies that I can't watch.
That's great.
Yeah.
You have some Frisbees.
I got some Frisbees.
All right, podcast awards. I want to say thank you to everybody who has been voting for us. We're getting tweets and emails and Facebook notices and all of that stuff from you guys every single day telling us that you're voting for us. And we need your votes. We appreciate your votes. Clint, I don't know if you noticed this or not, but we are up against Kevin Smith. Yeah, that Kevin Smith.
What?
Yes.
What?
He is one of his podcasts is up against us in the entertainment category.
Well, I can pretty much guarantee that we are going to beat his pants off.
Hey, you know what? I honestly think that we can.
I think that we can because our fans are better than Kevin Smith's fans.
And that's why I say that. I mean that.
Yeah.
We have amazing fans. Fringe has amazing fans. You guys can do it. You guys can bring us home the victory. I'm voting every day. Hopefully you guys are too over at podcastawards.com. Please vote for us in the best produced and the entertainment category. And remember that, and it's happened every time for me so far, they are sending me a confirmation email to verify my vote. So be sure and check your email because it doesn't actually count until you verify the vote through the email. So voting continues every day through November the 15th. And again, thank you guys for helping us to get nominated to be finalists. That we genuinely appreciate it. We're so happy to have great listeners like you guys.
And they can do that at podcastawards.com.
All right. Anything else, Clint?
Yes. It is time for our Bunsen Burners.
All right. What do you got?
This may be my highest rated episode ever.
It is, I think.
It's close. I can't remember anything that I've rated this high.
So you've never rated a 10. I know I've given a couple of 10s out before.
Yeah, this will be close.
Okay.
This almost was a 10.
Okay.
There wasn't anything that I didn't like about this episode except the fact that it ended.
This was one of those episodes where I looked up at the clock and saw there was 5 minutes of the episode and left,
Yes,
and I was like, no!
Yeah, there was like 12 minutes left, and I was like, and 2 commercial breaks. I was like, oh, no.
Yeah.
No.
It was so good.
Such a good episode. So I gave this 9.8 boot bustin', black hole making, baldy killing boomsticks.
I like that. That's good.
Thank you.
Nice alliteration there. I gave it 10 empty olives. It doesn't sound nearly as good after yours, but I did give it a 10.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. All right, so I guess it means it's time for the episode recap.
Let's do it.
The episode begins at Edda's home. Olivia is resting, and Peter is going through some of Edda's belongings. He opens a drawer and notices that it has a hidden button. He presses the button and opens a secret stash of weapons, including guns and C4. He loads the weapons into a bag, and Olivia wakes up. She tells him that she was hoping that all of this was a dream that she would wake up from, but it's not. She is struggling with the reality that they just got their daughter back, and now they've lost her again. Peter is struggling with it too, and dealing with it in his own way. Astrid calls and tells them that it is going to take her a long time to get to the next tape. It was put near a propane tank and a bottle of ether when Walter was making bratwurst. Meanwhile, at a Manhattan neighborhood, static electricity fills the air. A team of observers and loyalists arrive on the scene, and an observer puts a metallic cube in the middle of the street. He activates the cube, and a large portal opens. Pallets of supplies emerge through the portal. The observers have opened up a shipping lane through a wormhole that allows them to bring equipment and supplies from the future to 2036. The portal closes and leaves a charred street in its wake. Back at Edda's house, Anil calls to tell Olivia that he needs to see them. He takes them to the Manhattan neighborhood and shows them the blast radius. By the look of the damage, whatever did this was very powerful. Anil calls another member of the resistance and asks him to show them their visitor. He shows them an observer that has been captured and bound. He was carrying some handwritten notes and a mysterious cube that they believe may have been used to open the portal. Peter asks to see the cube so he can study it. Peter takes the cube and writings to the lab and discovers that it has a very specific method that must be used to assemble it. After a few hard electrocutions, he decides he needs to interrogate the observer to find out its proper sequence. Astrid and Olivia work on deciphering the observer's handwriting with little success. However, Astrid realizes that because they do not think like us, to them the letter B might be a B and a C, or an 8 and a 6 and a 56. Any of their symbols could have many different meanings. She is going to need more computing power if she is going to crack their language. Olivia calls Anil to see if he can help. Walter has been working on a way to stop future shipments, and he has an idea. If they can get their cube working, then they can open up a portal near the location of the next static event. Then they can shoot an antimatter grenade into the portal and close the portal. The result will be to turn the other side of the portal into a black hole and destroy them. Peter arrives at the location where they are keeping the captured observer. Anil shows him a concoction of fluids they are giving the observer, and he shows Peter a spot on the back of the observer's neck. Anil says that the observers aren't as hardy as you'd think. Their abilities are aided by tech. Peter goes to work on the observer by gauging the observer's eye responses to actions and questions that Peter is doing. The observer is sure that Peter does not have the ability to read him or assemble the cube. He tells Peter that he doesn't even know what he doesn't know. He tells Peter that the observers will squash them like ants. Peter ignores the observer's threats and continues reading him. Peter's persistence pays off, and he successfully assembles the cube. Back at the lab, Walter brings Olivia a videotape from his desk. He tells her that it's a birthday party from Edda's childhood. Olivia reels at the thought of watching it. Walter tells her that watching the tape is so important. He says that she must watch it and remember what they both had, what they still are, and they must hold on to that. They must face this pain together. The pain is Edda's legacy to them. It is proof that she was here. Walter tells her that he has experience with this type of pain, and it can't be escaped by building walls around your heart, or breaking the universe, or vengeance. Astrid comes in and tells Olivia that they cracked the code and found the location of the next portal drop. They must act quickly. Olivia calls Peter and they meet at the portal location. They work quickly and set up their cube before the observers. It works and the portal opens at their cube. Peter fires an antimatter grenade into the portal and it begins sucking in debris and closes in on itself, creating a black hole on the other side. They jump into the van and speed away, but in the rearview mirror, Anil notices another supply drop taking place at the observer's location. For some reason, the black hole did not work. Enraged, Peter jumps out of the van and runs off. He goes to the location where they are hiding the captured observer and begins suffocating him with plastic. Just before the observer suffocates to death, Peter removes the plastic and demands answers. The observer tells Peter that he is driven by emotion and therefore flawed. Peter saw what he wanted to see when he was putting the cube together. In reality, the observer's eye movement was due to his observation of a fly on a nearby window. The observer knows that Peter blames them for Edda's death, but it is irrelevant. She was here, and now she is simply not here. Peter hits the observer with his gun and yells, "She is not simply gone. She will be remembered, unlike you. If I kill you right now, no one will remember you. No one will miss you." The observer replies, "Miss me?" Peter hits him again and says, "You're nothing but tech. I would be 10 times what you are if I had that tech in my head." At the lab, Olivia is alone. She takes the birthday tape and puts it into the VCR. She is brought to tears as she sees her happy little girl and her loving husband. Back with Peter, he grabs a scalpel and cuts into the back of the observer's neck. Peter says, "You're wrong about emotions not being real. My feelings for her are very real." As he cuts into him, he says, "Can you feel that? The pain of a piece of you being torn out? That's the pain a father feels when he loses a child." Peter takes the tech over to a mirror and cuts a hole in the back of his neck. He holds the tech up to the hole and prepares to push it in, but it responds on its own and embeds itself deep into the back of Peter's neck. Peter writhes in pain and shakes as the tech impacts his body. Olivia calls him, weeping. She needs him to come home. They need to be together. It's what Edda would want. Peter tells her that he loves her, and then he puts the phone down. He looks into the mirror, and we see a Peter that looks more full of rage and determination and vengeance than we've ever seen before. Wow.
Yeah.
We were totally in
You like
sync.
that?
Yeah, that was good.
That's how this whole podcast is going to go, I'm telling you.
I hope so. So you're not going to derail us with your Science of Tomorrow segment?
No.
All right.
We're looking into the science of tomorrow. We're looking into the science. Oh, Clint, please tell us what's the science of tomorrow. Oh, Clint, please tell us about science. Take us to your wiki leader.
All right. In this week's Science of Tomorrow segment, we're going to talk about Peter's pupil dilation test.
You mean the Blade Runner test?
The Blade Runner test. That's exactly right. Wasn't that so cool?
That gave it an extra point
I
just
know.
for that. You know I'm a big Blade Runner fan.
Yes.
So any time, well, two things. I'm derailing you a little bit, but at least I'm not being snarky.
Well, this is good. This is important conversation.
Anytime they bring Blade Runner into Fringe, I'm a happy camper. But furthermore, I have a pretty large theory that's hanging out there right now that is inspired by Blade Runner. So the more they bring Blade Runner into the show this season, I'm feeling better about my theory. So I loved the test on multiple levels.
Yes, I did too. I thought it was awesome. Awesome. Well, pupil dilation occurs via a series of muscles in the eye, and I'm not going to go into all the details because A, I don't really know, and B, I think people would be bored. But
what?
Yeah. Do you want me to talk about the specific muscles and how they? Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
All right.
So, it is triggered for a lot of different reasons. So your eyes dilate, obviously, to response to light.
Sure.
But there have been studies that show that your eyes respond to love,
Okay.
Your pupils dilate, when you have a physical response to something.
Okay.
Love, fear, and a lot of other emotions. And of course, they respond autonomously without you being able to control it.
Right.
Just like your heart, you can't think and stop your heart, right?
Correct.
You can think and stop breathing,
Right.
and it's
Only
controlled
for so long.
Yeah, it's controlled by both systems.
Right.
And the terrible thing is, because I just mentioned it, you're thinking about breathing, and you won't be able to stop thinking about breathing until your mind switches gears.
Uh-huh.
You'll have to keep remembering to breathe.
I wonder how many members of our audience just stopped breathing.
They're like,
They're waiting to see how long
I have
they
to
can
remember
hold
to
it.
breathe. And see, I have to do it now.
Yeah.
And it's frustrating because I'm in the middle of my segment. So I did it to myself.
You can stop breathing if you want.
I don't want to stop breathing.
The show might get better.
All right. So the part of the brain that controls the pupil dilation is part of the autonomic nervous system.
Okay.
And there are two components. There's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic,
All right.
which is interesting. The parasympathetic, I always screw this up. So I'm going to try not to screw it up this time. The parasympathetic is responsible for fight or flight, meaning that it speeds things up. It makes your pupils dilate to take in more light so that you can... That's not true. It's the other way around. See, I
You
screwed it up.
anyway.
Yes. I think it focuses your pupils so you can focus on the danger of what's in front of you.
Oh, okay.
It also speeds up your heart rate. It releases adrenaline, right?
Okay.
Epinephrine. Is that right? No, that's not.
Whatever
It
you
releases
say.
adrenaline.
I've told you before, you can say whatever you want. I'm just going to smile and
That's
nod.
right. And then the sympathetic nervous system slows everything down.
Okay.
So it's kind of these two that balance one another. And so if Daryl's theory is half right or wrong, then the observer would have responded. His pupils would have responded, and Peter actually was doing something that could be used correctly to identify autonomic response. I'm just saying.
So you're saying my theory is wrong.
No, not necessarily.
Okay.
Right. Okay, just to clarify, your theory is that the observers are shapeshifters from the future that don't realize that they're not fully human.
That's right. And that they were created by William Bell.
Okay. We've seen shapeshifters, which basically have a hybrid of human DNA. Is that true or false?
That's right. Last season, the shapeshifters bled red blood.
Right.
They were indistinguishable from humans. Remember the first ones didn't have a heartbeat.
Right.
They had mercury blood and stuff
Right.
like that. These could go through a medical procedure and pass as humans.
That's correct. So,
The season 4 shapeshifters,
Right.
rather.
yeah, I got you.
Yeah.
So those could have that same parasympathetic and sympathetic
Uh-huh.
portions of their nervous system.
Because this is the other thing. They were derived from humans. That's what DRJ said. She had her life was dead. She had a dead-end job as a
Right.
whatever it was. So I think they were taken from actual humans, and that's why they were able to pass as humans.
That's true. So, Peter, I think Peter knew something that the observers didn't know, and I think that he was actually scared.
The observer was.
The observer was.
You think
actually-
the observer was scared?
I think that he had a parasympathetic nervous response
Okay.
that his brain was not able to interpret.
Well, I maybe. I'm not going to shoot that down. You put him in the situation that Peter did.
Yeah.
If there's any humanity left in there at all, you would think that he would.
Well, he had to. Think about the scene where Peter put the bag over his head,
Exactly.
right?
Right.
Did he struggle?
Yes.
Well, yeah,
Of course.
because his body wanted oxygen and wanted to breathe.
Right.
That's what a human would do, right?
Yes.
If he had no autonomic nervous response, he would have just sat there with the bag over his head and suffocated without
Right.
trying to fight.
Without caring.
So, Peter was onto something,
I think so
and
too.
I think he rattled his cage.
But the thing that Peter didn't recognize was the fly on the wall over there. Just like Jeff Goldblum. And he got done in by a fly. And that's still a possibility. If your mind focuses on something that's across the room, your pupil is going to respond to that. Correct?
That's true. It's almost as if, the tricks that the not the loyalists, but the humans in this timeline use. It's almost as if, they had learned to block the observers. It's almost as if the observer had done the same thing to him.
I like that. It's a good. Yeah, it's a good point.
A little tit for tat there. Yeah,
definitely.
All right, so that's it for this week's Science of Tomorrow segment, and of course, you know what that means: fuzzy bunny suits.
What?
Or food for thought.
Okay.
Root beer float.
Butterscotch pudding.
Mr. Papaya. Fruit cocktail. Coffee yogurt.
I'm a little confused here, Clint. We've started this thing this season in our show notes where we have, the food for thought.
Right.
And then we've been putting the foods that we've recognized as part of the episode immediately after that title. So I forgot to put in bratwurst. That was the thing that Walter was making that got the ether and the propane tank near the tape.
Yes.
But we also saw hot dogs. I don't know if you noticed the hot dog we saw in this episode.
Yes.
You have flies in here? I know I didn't add flies.
Flies.
Do you eat flies?
There's the flies. Who knows what they eat in the future? I put it in as a possible protein source. They eat egg sticks. Why wouldn't they eat flies?
So that's what the observers chow on. That's why the observer was so distracted. He's like, oh.
Yum. Food.
Breakfast is over there.
That's right.
I think you're stretching it a little bit,
right.
but it is pretty funny.
All right.
So what'd you think about the episode? Where do you want to launch us off?
I loved this episode. This may be... It's the newest episode.
Yes.
So I don't want to give it too much credit.
All right.
But this may be my favorite episode of Fringe.
Ever?
Maybe.
Wow.
Maybe.
No, not for me. But it's up there in my top 5 probably.
Yeah.
Top 10 for
It's
sure.
up there.
Yeah.
After it ages a little bit and I see where it falls,
right.
in the grand scheme of things, I'll be able to come back and say it.
It had everything that I look for in an episode. And that's why I gave it a 10.
Yes.
There was nothing for me to mark it down with. Now, is that a White Tulip episode for me? No. But that's
true.
White Tulip is it's the walkabout episode for me,
Yeah. I love White Tulip, but this is what I wanted out of season 5. I wanted a season of 13 episodes like this.
Okay.
And I just being honest, I don't feel like we've gotten that. We've got some great episodes.
Sure we have.
We've gotten some great scenes. We've gotten some great vignettes of our favorite characters, but I didn't feel like it was Fringe. I didn't feel like it was old Fringe, just 100% solid, where I got really excited about the episode until this episode.
It's interesting you say that, and I'm not asking you to tell us why you think that unless you want to, but we got some feedback that's coming, and I'll just say right now, we got some amazing feedback for this week's episode. More than we've ever gotten for any episode outside of a season finale.
Wow.
Yeah. But we have one that made the show that's going to be talking about now that Edda's gone, it feels like Fringe again.
Ooh.
And there's more to it than that. I'm just saying that would to kind of give you a hook to listen to the feedback podcast. But
I'm in.
There's some good stuff coming and some good perspectives for sure. Do you feel the same way? And if you want to say, hey, let me keep my comments for the feedback, that's cool. But I'm just wondering why you say that.
I would. I didn't even consider that.
Okay.
I thought that we got some really, the event with Edda probably led us down a path where we got our characters in this new struggle again. But we saw the characters go places that I don't think we've seen them go before.
Yeah.
We got, this really interesting, I think probably one of the most interesting conversations between Peter and the Observer throughout all of Fringe.
Yeah.
And so, I love that. We saw the length that Peter would go to. We've seen the lengths that Peter would go to for love.
Right.
We saw the length that Peter would go to for vengeance in this episode.
Maybe. Yeah. I don't know that we've seen the full length.
No, we haven't. Yet. I mean, we've seen him Breaking Bad in a way because of what happened to Edda, and that he is mad as hell and he's not going to take it anymore.
Yeah, that's right. And I think also, and this is somewhere in my notes, I'll go ahead and get to it now, but what we saw in this episode is a great study of humanity, where we have two people who loved the same person as deeply as that other person. And we're talking about Peter and Olivia loving Etta as much as the other person did. Both of them have lost her now twice. Both of them were at her side when she died. In other words, they have the same experience through and through with this situation, and yet handle it completely differently.
Completely differently.
And I love that so much. That is so deep.
Yeah.
You know, I was asking in the chat room on Friday in the West Coast, because Doc H was in there. Doc H does Fringe Pedia, and I said, who wrote this episode? Because by now I'm through my second watch, and the dialogue is just getting richer every time I watch it. I watched it again on Saturday, and it was even richer the third time I watched it. And he looked it up.
Did you say Richard the third time?
Richer, not Richard.
Richard the third, not King Richard the third.
Clint, I'm trying to have a mature conversation.
Did I derail you?
A little bit. Anyway, I'll get us back on the tracks. Joel Wyman wrote the episode.
Yeah.
No, when he said that, I'm like, yeah, of course he did.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. It was so good, and I love the way that they're exploring this.
I
Two
do
people
too.
encounter the same event and handle it completely differently.
Well, and I knew from the beginning of the episode, you know, the opening 10 seconds of the episode.
Yeah.
We had...
It told you so much.
We had Olivia sleeping, resting in bed. We had Peter standing over her holding a picture of Etta, and you could tell right away Peter was stewing. Olivia was sleeping, and when she woke up, she didn't know what else to do. She was just so overcome by grief. She doesn't really know how to move on, but at the same time, she's processing it in a completely different way than Peter is.
She's definitely processing it, and that's why I gave this episode 10, but I gave it empty olives. She just seemed empty,
broken.
There was nothing there. Her life has been sucked away, and she's just really struggling right now. And I loved it. It was hard to watch. Yeah, it was hard to watch, but it was so beautiful at the same time, so real. And so again, kudos to Joel Wyman, the entire writing team for really exploring some great humanity in this episode.
That's absolutely right.
And let me just say too, something that I failed to do in the last podcast, and it was just a huge mistake on my part. I learned my lesson, I think, and that was I failed to look at last week's episode in context with the season as a whole. Remember that we've been told that this season is really a 13-hour movie. It's really meant to tell one long story. And what I mean by what I failed to do last week was, I don't know about you, Clint, but when I break down episodes, I've kind of gotten to this rhythm where I break down each episode in itself, and I think about how things might tie into things that we've already seen.
Right.
But I really try to keep most of my thoughts within that episode.
Well, that's how we have to do it.
But last week's episode, I did myself and the listeners a huge disservice by not thinking about what had just happened at the end of the previous episode. At the end of The Recordist, we have them as a family. We have Olivia touching Etta's leg, and we have them heading off in the station wagon together as a family. We have that conversation where Peter tells Olivia that we've been given this second chance, and he's going to take advantage of it. That was our winning quote of the week last week.
Yeah.
And yet when we get to Etta's death, you put that into that one continuous story, if I can get the right word out.
Yep.
It just makes it that much more impactful, and really that much more sad.
Yes.
Heartbreaking.
Which is why I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I think for me that drives home the point of the reason I didn't like last week's episode even more.
Okay.
Just, I'm sad for these characters. I've really become emotionally invested in these characters, and to have her taken away, as Olivia mentioned in this episode, to have her Etta found, only to be taken away again, was just heart-wrenching.
Yeah. Definitely was. So I kind of chased a rabbit there, but I wanted to make that known that I really felt like I made a mistake last week and not really thinking fully through the context of what they did to us.
Yeah.
When we go back and we have the Blu-ray and those two episodes are on the same DVD and we watch them in the same sitting, it's going to be that much more painful when you see Etta die.
I know.
It really is. As painful as it was.
You still think she's gone for good?
Unless they do a time reboot back to the park or something.
Okay.
Which I think is a strong possibility.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, where are we even at here?
All over.
Yeah.
Yeah, I noticed our notes were kind of all over the place.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
Yeah, let's see. I guess let me talk about one of the first scenes we saw. You mentioned the Peter and Olivia handling the aftermath in two different ways there at Etta's house. The next scene was the observers and the loyalists setting up the cube and getting ready for the portal drop, the Dharma drop from the future.
Yes, which we had the electricity, right?
Yep.
Very similar to
I know where you're going with this.
the end of season 3.
Yep.
Help me out. The Ford commercial, that's all I remember.
That's all I can think of, too. Help us out, Bunsen Burners. What's the name of that episode where they...
the second or third
Riders
to
in
the
the
last.
Sky was the music being played.
Riders on the Storm.
Or,
Yep.
Thank you, Riders
Yep.
in the Storm, yeah. It definitely reminded me of that, too, which I thought was perhaps significant, perhaps not, but it could be.
Yeah.
But it reminded me of back in season 1 when David Robert Jones is setting up his equipment in the middle of the street, and the semi truck, the trailer gets cut in half.
Yeah.
And you had that truck driving
Yes.
by. It was just so reminiscent. And again, might point us to William Bell being behind this tech because he was behind. I think he was behind David Robert Jones's tech. I know Jones was trying to get to Bell at that point to impress Bell. He wasn't working for Bell yet, but I still think that tech was. You could trace its lineage back to Bell because DRJ had worked for Massive Dynamics, so he had access to some stuff. He might have taken some stuff with him or learned some stuff while he was there. So I still attribute that tech to Bell.
I would attribute it to Massive Dynamic for sure.
The last Sam Weiss is what they're telling us in the chat room.
Yeah, you're right.
Yep. Thank you.
I would attribute that to Massive Dynamic. I got to thinking based on your comments about William Bell.
Uh-huh.
We still have Massive Dynamic in this timeline.
Yes, we do. They've been shuttered, but we have Nina in charge of the science division.
Which is part of the Observers, right? They kept Massive Dynamic.
Yeah, I think it got rolled into that.
Right. As a whole, now it's just part of the science division. We know how important science is to the Observers.
Of course.
So instead of destroying all of that, all of this technology that could be used against the Observers, seems like they're investing in it and kind of taking it over and making it their own. Yeah. I really see this clear path from season 1 where Massive Dynamic was dabbling with all this stuff right to today, to season 5, where they've got the science division that's working on stuff for the Observers, maybe at Harvard, maybe not. I don't know.
Well, we definitely saw some experimentation going on at Harvard when Etta and Peter went to turn the power on.
But I think these technologies are at their beginning stages right now that are used by the Observers in the future.
So is it a paradox where they're creating tech in this, where they've traveled back in time to create tech that they're going to use in the future?
Or no, maybe. Maybe. That's one of the things that is really not frustrating. Frustrating is the wrong word. But the Observers don't seem to be worried about causality, right?
No,
not at all.
Not at all.
Right? They're stepping on butterflies, and killing humans.
Yep.
So either they know that everything that they're doing now has already happened because they're in the future, right? That this is all part of the big plan to get there, and nothing is changed. Everything's written in stone. There's nothing that our team can do, right?
To change that.
To change it. Or it's possible that the Observers aren't from this timeline.
Right.
And they don't care what happens to this timeline. They've come back into this other universe.
Okay. Let me segue us into this then.
Okay.
I'm sorry, I was reading the chat room. They say I'm getting all timey-wimey. I'm about to get even more timey-wimey with this.
Timey-wimey.
We saw the black hole bomb did not work. Why did it not work?
I don't know.
I have 2 ideas.
It did work.
Sort of.
It did work.
But it didn't work.
It did work and it didn't work.
Yeah. Actually, I have 3 ideas.
Okay, and I'm going to shoot all 3 of your ideas down.
That's fine.
Okay, here we go.
Idea number 1. Walter said it would set them back. He didn't say that it would destroy them for all time.
Okay.
And therefore, once you get everything repaired, you go back in time, what they're already doing. So what seemed to be a second to our team might have taken them 30 years to actually sit back up.
Okay.
In the future time.
Okay, I can't disprove that. But if they opened up a black hole in the middle of their world,
it should have utterly destroyed
that's
them.
it.
Yes.
That's not going to set them back.
So I don't know why Walter said that.
Yeah.
But he said that, so I'm going with that.
Okay, unless it was a tiny black hole.
Timey-wimey black hole. Number 2. Peter, I believe that last part that had the 4 prongs sticking out of it, I think he put it in wrong.
Yeah.
I think that was definite that he put it in wrong.
Okay.
And so what it did, he put it in right enough to power the thing up, but what it did was it connected them to a different timeline, and they destroyed a different timeline.
Okay, and I'm going to shoot that one down.
Really?
Yes.
Why?
Because they had the equipment being sent through that time.
Uh-huh.
That equipment would not have come through that portal if it came from a different time or a different place.
Why wouldn't it have?
How would it be there on the other end to come through?
Well, it'd be like the red verse. I mean, they look just like ours, and they're doing similar things, and so maybe
The red verse would have to be sending those packages through at exactly the right time to exactly the right location.
Yep.
Which I'm poo-pooing
okay.
right now.
I'm not going to argue that. I don't know that I've thought through that enough to be able to argue back and forth on that.
Okay.
And now I forgot what my third idea was. Peter put the grenade through the hole. Gosh, I'm forgetting what my third point was on that. So if I think of it later, I'll come back. But those are my two thoughts.
I think I don't see how either one of those could be the case, and so I'm really curious what happened, because if they did create a black hole and everything got sucked up, it's gone, right?
Mm-hmm. You would think so.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I do think the reason has something to do with Peter putting the piece in wrong, but
I don't think it could. It did what it was supposed to do.
No,
which
the
was
observer,
open up the
when
hole.
he came back and said, "Why didn't it work?" That's when the observer broke it down and said, "You thought you saw what you did, but you saw what you wanted to see. I was actually looking at a fly. You put it together wrong, therefore it didn't work."
Yep.
And that's why I came up with the idea that he opened up a portal to a different timeline.
Yes, unless that's the only thing I can think of is if the cube is put together wrong, that instead of, it opens up a fake wormhole with the stuff already coming through there, just as a decoy.
I don't know. I mean, he definitely opened up a portal to a place that sucked in something, and he threw an antimatter grenade into that, and it destroyed something.
The only thing that I can think of that makes any sense whatsoever is that the cube actually did work. They threw the antimatter grenade in there. It created the black hole. The observers, in the same way that they came into this timeline, they invaded the invaders, right? They invaded this timeline. That just reset them, and they went and invaded. They all, as a people, moved, in the same way that they do now, where they're able to just appear somewhere. They move to a different universe, continue to work, and then send it through in a different way.
I don't know.
But I don't know. We don't even know what we don't know, Daryl.
Great. That's a great point, Clint. We don't. We have no idea what we don't know.
So,
all right.
I don't know.
What else do you have?
I think we're gonna find that out.
You think we will find out why it didn't work?
I think we're gonna find out. But I'll tell you what I don't think we're gonna find out.
All right.
I don't think we're gonna get, based on this episode, episode 5.
Uh-huh.
I don't think we're gonna get the how or the why
of
the observers. I could be wrong.
I think we will. I mean, that's what my theory is really hinged upon, is finding out.
I don't think we will.
The how.
They're not slowly, methodically releasing more information to the audience about the observers. The time that they're spending with the observers is just to show us how bad they are.
That's right, but it just takes one scene with William Bell to talk about his decision to make the observers and why he was crazy enough to do it, to give us what we need to know to make me right.
Okay, but that still doesn't explain why they came back. Why they came back to this timeline.
Right.
What their plan is to do here. What are they trying to prevent in the future?
Well, I think we got that answered already. They destroyed their own world. They came back to this world.
How? How did they destroy their own world, and how are they going to prevent it from happening in this world?
Well, we don't have that answered.
Those are the kind of questions I don't think we're going to get answered.
I don't think so either.
But they're the ones I want answered.
Possibly, but I don't. That'd be great comic book material, honestly.
Yeah.
Comic book on the future would be fantastic.
Yep, that would be fantastic, but I don't think we're going to get it. Do you? Do you think we're going to get more comic books?
I think there's a chance of it. If there's a team out there that's excited about the story and loves it the way that the fans do, whether that, it may have to have a point person like Joel behind it, like Joss Whedon has done some Firefly comics, and he announced at Comic-Con that they're doing some more. Well, he's going to have to be the one driving that, Joss Whedon is.
That's true.
So somebody's got to drive it for Fringe, too.
The other thing that they have to have is they've got to have enough material for the movie.
Oh, sure. So they can kill off Wash and, spoiler alert.
What?
Who would be Wash? Who would they kill? It'd be Astrid.
Yep.
Yeah.
Astrid would die. They'd kill Astrid.
Astrid's dying in the Fringe movie. We just predicted it here, folks.
I hope not.
All right. Let me ask you this question, Clint. We know that Peter is important. You and I talked about this last podcast, about Peter being important, not Etta being important. Right?
Yep.
Is this why he's important? What he did to himself at the end of the episode?
I don't know. I don't
either, because if what he did to himself at the end of this episode is why he's important, then why did they erase him from time?
I don't know. I don't know why they erased him. Maybe he's going to turn out to be maybe he's important because he is the savior of humanity.
Sure.
September, recognizing that, said that he's important. The other observers were out to really kill him, right?
Were they?
Well, they were supposed to observe, right?
Yes.
But they weren't supposed to get involved,
right?
Which they did a terrible job of, right?
Right.
But I think these observers are trying to kill him, right?
These observers absolutely are.
Yeah. Either they don't know that he's important, or he's important because he's going to kill them.
Yeah. I don't know, man. And that's why I don't think that what he did at the end of the episode is why he was important. Remember that September, and I'm going to assume, which we know how that has done for us, but I'm going to assume that not only September, but the other monthly named observers had a different agenda than the observers that we see now. And so what he told us may be on a completely different reason. In other words,
yes.
Well, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay.
I think that's clear enough. But
Dirac in our chat room brings up a good quote that we got from September.
Okay.
Which has a whole lot more meaning now than it did with Baby Nugget. When he told him it must be hard to be a father.
Yeah, boy, doesn't that carry a lot more weight now.
Doesn't it?
Yeah.
And doesn't it make a lot more sense coming from September?
Yeah.
Because September knows what Peter's going through right now.
Yeah.
At least I assume he did.
And folks, someone in the chat room earlier also mentioned, we really shouldn't be so sad about Etta's death. I mean, she got like 3 episodes or 4 episodes. Baby Nugget got like 1 or 2. That's terrible.
That is terrible. That is terrible.
All right, something
Good
else
call.
that was cool in that Dr. Jones type of scene that we saw there at the beginning was that we saw an observer with the binoculars out.
Yes.
And another one writing in the journal, just like we saw in episode 4 of
That's
season
right.
1. So that was cool.
That was cool. I love how they bring it back.
Yeah.
That was nice. We also saw Astrid bust out her cryptography skills again, like she did in the comic book and like she did in season 1.
And I was so glad when Anil? Yeah. First showed that to Peter. I'm like, they'd better give this to Jessica or to Astrid. That is her skill.
That's what she does.
And of course they did. So I was like, all right, good. They did something right.
You know what was really funny about that whole scene? She said, oh, I need more processing power.
Uh-huh.
Well, this is the future. Astrid's used to having Core 2 Duo systems. All she has to do is plug in the cell phone from the future, and it's like it's got enough power to it basically is the singularity, right?
It should be.
Right. It's got like terabytes of memory,
Right.
and
Right.
it's a gigacore. It's got 1 gig of cores in it.
Mm-hmm.
Runs at 14 terahertz. The processor does.
That'd be awesome.
I don't
wouldn't
know.
it? Yeah.
I'm just making up stuff now, but it's like their cell phone, just like our cell phones, are as powerful as the computers were
Yeah.
5 years ago.
That's true. So how can these symbols have multiple meanings?
That's
though?
what I don't know. Do you have any idea?
No.
That whole thing didn't make any sense to me. I mean,
Okay.
I can follow it logically that they observe or that they live in different timelines, and so maybe in one track it can mean one thing, or strung together a certain way.
That's it. I think that's it. Think about it in these terms. What were our glyphs for last week?
No, fight was this week.
Fight was this week, which I didn't say. Yeah, thank you. Fight.
Hurt. I don't remember what it was.
It was wound.
Wound. Yeah.
And what did I say the glyph was to begin with, just to be silly?
Wound.
Wound.
Yep.
You have to know what it is in context to know what the proper usage and pronunciation of
Yes.
the word is.
That's true.
So maybe their glyphs are the same way.
Yeah, like
in full context of how they're put together tells you what the proper what is actually being said there.
I can see that. That's kind of like DNA, right?
I don't know.
Actually, it's more like proteins.
Okay.
Because proteins, there are only so many amino acids, right? But if you put them together in a certain order, they fold and become functional,
Exactly.
right?
I have no idea,
These
man.
words, when you string them together, they have a meaning in context of the rest of the words. They take on a life of their own, I guess. I
I'm
don't know.
sure you and our other science people
I'm just glad
made sense of that.
that Astrid was useful.
Yeah.
She's a very useful engine.
Are you glad that we didn't have a tape chase this week?
We did not have a tape chase this week, but we did have a tape.
Yeah, it was a very different tape.
A very sad tape. A very happy tape that made it very sad.
Yeah. Yeah.
I just have to say that the onions I cut from 2 days,
Uh-huh.
the odor wafted into my living room.
Yeah.
I cut 2 days before, kind of wafted it into my living
Yeah,
room.
it was tough.
Yep.
I was kind of glad to get a break from the tape this week. It just gave it a different change of pace.
I agree. I don't think they could have had a tape in this episode.
Will Peter even care about the tapes now?
Will Peter care about anything now? We should talk about that.
I say yes.
What is that thing going to do to his brain?
I think. Wow, I just brought up the tapes, and that was the next thing in the notes, and I didn't even know it. That was dumb luck. I think it is going to make him like Neo in the Matrix.
He's going to be able to stop bullets with his mind.
Yeah, I think I don't think now. Over time, it might change him to a hair falling out, pasty skinned observer. I don't know, but for right now, I think it's going to give him. He said, if I had all that tech in my head, I'd be 10 times what you are, and I think that's going to do that initially. I think he's going to have some superhuman-like abilities, but I think over time it might change him into an observer if he doesn't get it out of him.
We'll have to follow that. You know what it reminded me of? Reminded me of Anakin's transition to Darth Vader, didn't it? A little bit with the rage.
That thought never occurred to me, to be honest with you.
With him losing his daughter in the same way that Anakin was scared of losing.
Yeah. I think maybe if he had been tied up like the observer and then he burst out of it and said no, then maybe I would have seen a little similarity there.
That's not true. I just mean the story, right?
Yeah, I know.
This is like Darth Vader being born without the prequels. It's great.
Darth Mickey.
Darth Mickey. That was funny.
Yeah.
Darth Vader. Yep. Spoiler, guys. Come on. There is a statute of limitations.
Yeah.
Especially
on Star Wars.
Yes. If you haven't seen Star Wars, it's because you're too young, or you don't want to see it.
Yeah.
In either case, I don't feel bad about mentioning it on our podcast.
The prequels? We have people asking, what are these prequels you speak of? Yeah.
It's like that zombie season 6 of Lost that never happened, right?
Yeah, something like that. So I was just talking about how the Observer was tied up and stuff and bound. What did you think about the dialogue in that scene?
Oh, it was
Peter
fantastic, wasn't it? I felt like I was watching Blade Runner for the first time. I really did.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? The conversation that Decker had with the guy on the rooftop, Rutger Hauer, but I don't remember what his replicant name was. Talking about all the things that he's seen and how it was meaningful. It was a totally different context, but I got that same vibe.
Okay.
I guess
I didn't get that vibe either, but I can see now that you mentioned it.
It's this one person that's trying to relate to another person in a way, and they don't really have any common ground.
Yeah.
This is a lot more antagonistic, of course.
Well, they were both antagonizing each other.
Yeah.
They were both talking smack.
Yeah, which was great. Oh, it was great.
Yeah.
It was fantastic.
The Observer's smack talk was pretty good. He's talking about crushing them, basically looking at them like they would an ant farm, and the dark sky you see over your head, you think
the skies are darkening, but it's really my boot.
Yeah. And then we get with the fight we had with Peter later.
Isn't that great?
It was.
Oh my goodness.
It's my boot in your face.
Yeah. No, I think that was one of my favorite, tit for tat conversations that we had.
Yeah.
With our bad guys, we really haven't had a whole lot of that before. Just because they always seem to be on the run, DRJ or Newton, there hasn't been a time where they can just sit and have tea and chat like we got today. So
yeah, that was good. I loved the scene. I loved the way they played off of each other for sure.
And one of the things I really liked was we got more of that emotion being viewed as weakness by the observers.
Absolutely.
Right. We've seen Widmark kind of relay that to the humans, and they really see it as unevolved, primitive,
a weakness,
a complete weakness,
a total inability to make sound decisions.
That's right. Completely clouds your judgment.
Right. And it does sometimes.
Yeah. And sometimes
acting out of emotions certainly does.
Yeah. We saw it this week.
Yeah.
I think we're going to see the consequences of
That's what scares me.
In the future, don't you?
Man. I'm concerned about Peter long term. Like I said, short term, I think he's going to be okay. But long term, especially if he continues to try to hide this, which I say continue. I mean, it had just happened when he talked to Olivia on the phone. But if he hides this and it becomes part of him, and then there's the other part. Is it already integrated with him enough now that if they were to remove it, it would kill him like it did the Observer?
I think it probably had something to do with Peter slicing into his spinal column to get it out more so
than taking it out and being removed.
Yeah, than it being removed.
Maybe
Man,
so.
that was
man. But when that thing sucked itself into Peter's neck,
wasn't that fantastic?
Man, that was so cool.
That was again one of my favorite gross out Fringe scenes.
It didn't gross me out. It was just shocking.
It was
that
awesome.
thing came alive, and it was like it sensed that there was something to latch onto.
I felt like I was watching like an '80s alien movie.
Yeah,
like Alien.
Yeah, it was like a parasite that found a host and was like,
awesome. An old good. David Cronenberg flick or something.
Yeah, totally agree.
It was fantastic. But the thing that I thought was cool, where they called him, a flopping fish, at the beginning of the episode when he was being introduced. Do you remember that?
What movie are we talking about here?
No, Dead Fish. He's a dead fish.
The
Observer.
Sorry, yes. Mm-hmm.
And at the end, when he cuts his spinal column and he's flopping around like a fish out of water.
That's good.
Oh, my goodness.
I didn't pick up on that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
All right, where do you want to go next with these notes we have left?
So we've got other things. I wanted to talk a little bit about Peter.
Okay.
And we'll do that. We forget Peter's origins from the beginning of the story because we kind of came in the middle of his story, right?
Yeah.
He was kind of a bad dude when he shows up to pick up Walter in the pilot.
Yeah.
Right? He had been in Iraq doing who knows what.
Yeah.
And we didn't really see that side of him again until we got to the episode in season 2 or 3.
I want to say 3.
I think it was 3. Reciprocity.
Right.
Where he goes berserko on the shapeshifters, right?
Right.
We see him, you know, there's this screenshot of him. I think it's on fringepedia.tv, and he's wearing the hoodie. His eyes almost look bloodshot. He looks like Anakin.
Yeah.
Going bad.
And that is what he looked like at the end of the episode here. I mean, earlier I didn't have that same impression when it happened,
right.
But no, I see where you're coming from on that.
So we got that little glimpse, and I remember we really didn't like that episode because, you know, this person that we'd really kind of grown attached to emotionally did some bad things, and we had a hard time justifying that. Well, now we're seeing all of that come right back into focus.
Yeah.
When he's put under the same kind of stress, he doesn't really see the observers as people. He has no problem taking them out and doing brutal things, especially when his daughter's concerned. Now he's got a lot more motivation.
Oh yeah,
than he ever did.
Ever
in that
had
episode.
before.
And I don't think we're going to see him return to being normal Peter.
Even after the
Maybe
observers
ever.
are annihilated, is it going to change him forever?
I think it has. I have this quote from that episode.
Okay.
And this is from Walter. He says, "I think I know what's happening to you. Every relationship is reciprocal, Peter. When you touch something, it touches you. You're changing, son. When you touch the machine," this is the machine back in season 3. You were right.
That's right.
"It changed you. It weaponized you." And so I think that's exactly what's happening here. You know, he sees that tech as the thing that's going to get him what he wants, which is vengeance against the observers. We had that great Chinese proverb quoted, you know.
We did.
Help me out.
Before you go on an journey of revenge, dig 2 graves.
That's right. And so I think that's exactly what's happening. You know, another point I wanted to make was that I don't think at this point Peter gets as much sympathy. You know, we think about the bad stuff that's happened to Olivia, right? She's had to go through a bunch of crap that's been pretty rough in her life. And of course, we have that sympathy for Walter throughout the past 4 or 5 seasons, just with all the stuff that he's had to go through, losing his son, getting him back, losing his mind, getting it back, losing his mind, getting it back.
Yeah.
You know, losing his best friend, having to shoot his daughter-in-law in the head to destroy the plans of his best friend. I mean, Walter's had it rough.
Yeah.
But I think if you look objectively at who's had it the roughest, Peter.
You think so?
I think so.
I think I would say Olivia.
When you consider that Peter was kidnapped, right? Stolen by another universe. He gets called back from his life of crime to deal with his father. His mother, who knew that he was kidnapped, committed suicide at a very young age. So he had that to deal with. Then he has to deal with the person that, you know, he blames for causing the suicide.
Uh-huh.
He gets close to Olivia. The Olivia is swapped out for another Olivia, who he falls in love with. They have a baby together. The real Olivia's the real Olivia's, you know, furious at him. He disappears. He saves the world like 30 times and then disappears. He has to come back and try and get back home and convince everyone that he really does exist. I mean, if you look at all of that, and then to come into this, having his daughter, getting his, quote, happy ending, even in such terrible circumstances where, you know, Etta is this dandelion in the asphalt of his life, right?
Yeah.
And to have that stomped on by the boot of the observers, he's had it pretty rough.
I am not denying that. And we could make the argument for Walter and Olivia, and for the sake of time we won't, but all the stuff that he has had with Olivia, she's had that too. And had some of her own things that she's dealt with the loss of John Scott and some other things like that. So, listen, we can make an argument. All three of these characters, these main three characters' lives are wrapped in tragedy and in difficult events that have been thrust upon them, oftentimes by, not their own choosing.
Yeah.
Particularly with Olivia and Peter.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that Peter deserves the most sympathy, but at least for me, I don't give him any sympathy. I mean, I don't feel bad for Peter at all. Really, I should. Peter's been put in this pretty terrible situation.
No, I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
I will definitely agree with you on that.
All right.
That
was it.
Good point. No,
that was a long rant.
Good stuff there. I think we have a few more odds and ends here. Anything really... some of this is just real quickie things. Anything that's going to take some... you've got one there about Etta that might take a little dissecting.
Was it just me? Or, Peter shot the antimatter bomb into the black hole, right?
Right.
Or made the black hole, or whatever you want to call it, the window, right? And then they pan the camera up, and there's all these resist posters, right?
Yes.
The instant that happened. So did something go back in time and change?
I'm so glad you brought this up. I had it in the notes and I took it out. But we have 2 or 3 calls that came in about this. I'm not sure how many of them actually made it into the feedback podcast.
Okay.
At least one of them did, maybe 2, and as part of what they were talking about. This was an amazing job of cinematography in this scene. It took me 3 watches to realize that the posters were there the whole time.
Oh, they were?
Yeah.
Okay.
But the way that they framed the shot, you had to look really close because they were in the background and maybe not in focus. Olivia was in focus, and you could just barely see him. But they were there the whole time.
Okay.
I thought, this was another thing I thought might have happened when Peter threw the grenade into the thing and it didn't work.
Yeah.
That somehow it had adjusted time. It had manipulated the time and something else had happened. And now these posters were here. They weren't before because what they did
That's
affected
exactly
time.
what I thought.
Yeah. But they were there the whole time.
Okay, good. I'm glad you caught that because I missed it.
But my other question is this. What the heck? You have posters of Etta who just died all up and down this alleyway. So number 1, did they just make those as a memorial to Etta who lost her life fighting for the resistance? Okay, cool.
Yeah.
I guess someone would have the resources to do that. But number 2, if they didn't, how is it that the observers didn't realize that Etta was part of the resistance until like 2 episodes ago? If these posters are up,
Oh, I think it had to be a recent thing.
I think so too. It had to be.
Had to be. But even then, that's pretty good to sneak by the observers and put those posters up.
Yeah.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
I do want to mention one other thing. Rewardwire.org,
Okay.
is that right? Chat room. They ran some viral videos through there, and I tried to get on it with my iPad and look. There were some things that look like you could pull them out as screen caps from those videos.
Okay.
And do some other stuff with it. I wasn't able to.
That's what it was. Rewardwire.org.
Okay.
Yeah.
So go check that out. Obviously, there was a big tie-in. If you guys watched the episode live and watched the commercials, huge tie-in with Halo 4.
Right.
So go out and buy Halo 4, even if you don't have an Xbox.
Comes out this Tuesday.
Yeah, to support Fringe.
Jeremy's a little miffed because that's Revolution podcast night.
And
So
there's
he's not
something
gonna get
else
to play.
going on Tuesday.
You mean the United States presidential election?
Yes.
I'll be participating
So
in
which
that.
line are you going to be in?
I know, right? Just go from one line to the next.
There you go.
Yeah.
I guess so. It's funny.
Another thing, speaking of hidden things in the episode, we saw some graffiti, and this happened at the initial Char site when Anil brings the French team and calls them to the site. There's some graffiti on one of the walls back there, and the graffiti said "Ask Alice," which I am 100% convinced that is our episode clue for next week. Because remember, the name of the episode next week is "Through the Looking Glass" and what Walter found there.
Right.
So that's got to be our episode clue for next
We will
week.
see.
Yep.
I agree. We're getting
down to it, man.
We are. Yeah, man, that video, the scene of Olivia watching the video, that was hard.
That was tough.
That was hard to sit
That was
through.
tough.
And
It
I know
was.
it's just TV, right?
Yeah, but
none of this is real, but
we care about these characters
Yeah.
so much. We were able to empathize with
Yeah.
them so deeply.
Yep.
And then when she called Peter and she could barely talk, she
know.
was so broken up.
she just wants Peter to come home. Peter, come home. Yep.
It was tough. It was good.
Yep.
Wonderful writing, wonderful acting by everyone. Peter, or Josh, did an amazing job in this episode. His emotions were all over the board. Every single one of them, I thought, acted out to a T.
Man, I read, I think it was a tweet. It may have been an article that somebody did on this episode. But they were saying that they're mad, preemptively mad for Anna and Josh and John getting snubbed at the Oscars or the Emmys for next year.
Yeah, they're already mad for that.
Because this is such a great episode.
Oh, it was.
It was fantastic.
It was so good.
Yep. So many great lines this week, which is why I'm very excited about the quote of the week, which is coming up. But do you have anything else first?
I have the new media.
Okay, let's do it.
Let's do that.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
We have some exciting news to share. Daryl has been selected to speak at New Media Expo, formerly Blog World, taking place in Las Vegas on January 6th through the 8th, 2013. New Media Expo is the world's largest and only industry-wide conference, trade show, and media event for bloggers, podcasters, social media networkers, online communities, internet radio and TV broadcasters, and every type of new media user and content creator. This is where independent content creators, journalists, marketers, internet entrepreneurs, and the world's largest corporations learn about the newest online communication technology, tools, and methods from innovators and industry leaders. Past events have offered more than 100 educational sessions with amazing speakers, including Guy Kawasaki, Mark Cuban, Steve Rebell, Gary Vaynerchuk, Tim Ferriss, Chris Brogan, Paula Berg, and dozens of A-list bloggers and podcasters, award-winning journalists, Fortune 500 executives, and world-renowned online marketers. There is a wide selection of topics ranging from building an audience and community, basic and advanced blogging and podcasting, audio and video tools and techniques, web TV and internet radio broadcasting, monetizing content, social media marketing, how to effectively engage bloggers, and maximizing new media in your business marketing mix. I will be leading a session on tips for fan podcasters, joined by Lost podcasters Jay and Jack Glatfelter and Jason Kabasi from the Walking Dead cast. We will discuss how to choose the right show, how to build a community around your podcast, how to promote your podcast, how to build a relationship with a TV network, and how to properly conduct interviews. Check out all the amazing content offered at New Media Expo and book your ticket today by visiting goldenspiralmedia.com/New Media Expo. I can't wait to see you in Las Vegas, January 6th through the 8th. January is going to be a busy month for me. Because I've got that. Month. I get back here on the 9th, and that'll give me 9 days before the finale to finish up any last-minute things going there. It's going to be a busy but fun and exciting month. I hope to see you guys in Las Vegas. It's a great event, and should be a lot of fun. If you are going to be there or you live in the Las Vegas area, let me know. We will be organizing a meetup. I don't yet know the day or time of that. As we get closer to that, probably around a month out or so, we'll start organizing that. So stay tuned for that. All right, you ready for those awesome quotes? I'll take that as a yes.
Yes.
Oh, it's the quote of the week. You never know what's gonna happen. Quote of the week. You better get right down and vote for it now. Quote of the week. You never know what's gonna happen. Quote of the week. You better get right down and vote for it now. Word.
All right. I'm going to be Olivia and Peter.
What?
Olivia, then Peter.
Okay.
You're going to be Walter, and then Walter. So this was our winning quote from last week.
I'm going to try and do a better Walter than I did last week.
I wish you would. That was
terrible. It was terrible.
I don't know, actually. All right. Walter, is this what I think? I did that just for you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll try that again.
Okay.
Walter, is this what I think it is?
My cold storage of all the Fringe events we have ever encountered. Dormant for 21 years. If we were going to find a diversion to get into the railway station, we'll find it here.
What do you suggest, Walter?
There was a time when we solved Fringe cases. Now I think it's time we created a few of our own.
I don't know.
Not better?
I don't know if that was better or not.
It was kind of...
You've done better. I know that.
I know. That's true.
Yeah.
I have done better. I've done worse, too.
Sure you have.
Yeah.
Yeah. Although that was probably the best Olivia I've ever done.
That was definitely the best Olivia. Yeah, it got a little Zoolander there in the middle for me.
It did, yeah.
How are we going to get the cold storage if we can't even fit inside the building?
Oh, that's good. All right, well, our first quote for this week is called Ant Colony.
Your skill is impressive, but it is of no consequence.
You have no idea what we're capable of.
I think of you as I would an ant colony as I pass by it. I don't care about the workings of the colony, why one ant is mad at another, or why one ant would kill another, or not. To me, it is insignificant. And like an ant colony, you are oblivious to your limitations. You think the black over your head is dark skies, when it is really our shoe.
Ooh, that was a great quote. There were a lot of really great quotes in this one.
I just burned you in monotone.
That's right.
Tell me, how does it make you feel? All right.
And also, booyah.
All right, quote number 2 is bratwurst.
Hey, I've run into a bit of a fire hazard, so there's no tape yet.
What is that?
You see that white tubey thing? That is a propane tank for Walter's hibachi. And that see-through blob over there, that is a gallon of ethanol.
Abner, why did you leave the propane tank there in the first place?
Someone wanted to cook bratwurst.
Oh, why is the ethanol there, not in the cupboard?
Because someone wanted to use the ethanol to clean the hibachi before they cooked the bratwurst.
At this rate, we won't get another tape until Wednesday.
More like Thursday.
All right, Clint, I have a question for you. Ethanol?
Abner? Ethanol.
I've always pronounced it ethanol.
Yeah, that's how you pronounce it.
And he said ethanol.
Yes.
She definitely said ethanol.
Maybe she had a friend named Ethan, and in honor of him, she named it ethanol.
Yeah, maybe so.
Maybe
and Abner. Abner is going to go
maybe
up
it's ethanol
there.
vodka or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Abner will go up there as one of the best ones, I think.
And it's funny. Here we are 5 seasons in.
They're still coming
and we're
up
coming
with
up with new ones. We've had 2 new ones this week.
Yeah. Which is why I said I'd go
This week.
down as the best one, because it's
This season.
ridiculous.
Yeah. Abner.
All right. The number 3 quote this week is, Edda is responsible for the world being saved. Long title. Good quote.
What, Olivia? Are you worried about me?
Yes. Yes, I am. I'm afraid.
Nothing's gonna happen to me. I can do this. We can do this. Our daughter dedicated her life to freeing us. And now we're going to dedicate ours to making sure that that means something. When we win, when we beat them, I want everyone to know that Edda is responsible for the world being saved.
I want that too.
All right.
Yes. And Team Coco says, can we talk about the perfect music in this whole episode? The music was fantastic.
Yeah.
Chris Tilton, I don't know what he's going to go on to do after this, but it's going to be amazing. I can tell you that.
I love him. He's great. I cannot wait to get more stuff out of him.
It's just been fantastic.
Yep.
Fantastic.
And then this final quote, it's got my vote. Sometimes I'll tell you what my vote's going to be. This is it. This is the quote that I kept going back to over and over again, and just got richer with every watch for me. I even sent Joel Wyman a tweet yesterday and just thanked him for it. It was so good.
Okay.
And this one is called "The Pain Is Her Legacy."
That's why this tape is so important. You must watch it and remember what you both had, what you still are, and you must hold on to that. You must face this pain together. pain is her legacy to you both. It's proof that she was here. That I have experience with this sort of pain. And you can't escape it by building walls around your heart. Or by breaking a universe. Or by vengeance.
Wow. That was really good.
You're going to have fun acting that out next week.
I sure hope that one does not win.
Yeah.
Because I will butcher that one.
That full quote is 2 minutes of John Noble owning the screen.
Yes, he was monologuing.
And Olivia's doing a fantastic job while he's doing it.
That was really good.
Anna.
Yeah.
It was so good.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did you notice the very Angelian... I don't know if you remember, Angelus did the soundtrack for Blade Runner.
Oh, definitely made me think of that.
With the surges.
Yes.
The kind of synthesizer surges
I'm so
in there.
glad you... I thought that, and I'm like, no, that's me trying to read too much Blade Runner into it.
Yeah, no, definitely.
Okay.
That whole scene.
That's so interesting.
Which was fantastic because it's...
I feel validated now.
It's one of the... I think it's one of the most quintessential sci-fi movies of all time.
I agree.
Is that?
Yeah. No One's Minion says if you do that, if that quote wins and you act out next week, then I will be able to act out all of Olivia's facial expressions while you're going on your monologue. That'll be just as challenging.
No kidding.
Yeah, it's good stuff.
Oh, man.
All right. Well, we want to remind you guys how you can help support us here at the Fringe Podcast. Right now, the big thing that we're asking your support for is for your vote for the Podcast Awards. Podcastawards.com. Every single day, you can vote for us in the Best Produced and in the Entertainment category. And we would sure appreciate your vote once again every day through November the 15th. Aside from that, you can make contributions to us through PayPal if you want. You can buy through any of our affiliate links. If you're interested in advertising with this podcast or any of our other podcasts and all of that stuff, you can find all those support opportunities over at goldenspiralmedia.com/support. And we certainly appreciate very, very much all of the support that we get through you guys. It helps keep the podcast going. It helps with the upgrade that we did with the studio this week. And hopefully you guys that are joining us for the live show are enjoying the new layout. But we're very much appreciative of it.
That's absolutely right. Also wanted to remind you, again, this is your last opportunity to do the contest. We've already talked about the prize at the beginning, so we won't rehash that, but we would love to see your original and digitally transferred content that's Fringe related that tells us what happened in the interim.
Yep.
So please get out there and do that.
Yep. No One's Minion in the chat room is asking if we have a Newegg link, affiliate link, and we do.
We do.
Over there at the goldenspiralmedia.com/support.
I should totally do that.
Oh, yeah.
What else? Contact information. If you want to send the contest entries, feedback, Snyder marks, there are literally 1 billion ways to do it.
I don't know about that.
Literally 1 billion.
By 1 billion, you mean like 4, 5?
But let me give you the top 5 here.
Okay.
Okay, you can call in.
Yep.
304-837-2278. That's 304-TFP-CAST. Just tell us that you're doing it for the Fringe Podcast. You can find us on Facebook or SoundCloud at those websites /Golden Spiral Media. You can follow us on Twitter at GSM Podcasts. You can also use a brand new feature that's 1 week old.
And boy, are they using it.
Yes, called SoundPipe. If you go into the website...
SpeakPipe.
Thank you. Go into the website, thefringepodcast.com. You'll see the little annoying pop-up come up over the window. You can X out of that. But instead of Xing out, just go ahead and click that. It'll record feedback in crystal clear audio for the podcast. For us.
Yep.
And our mothers. So go ahead and do that. I think that's it, right?
You did that just because I've exceeded my mom joke limit for the podcast.
You can also email us at feedback@thefringepodcast. We prefer audio.
We do.
Because we want to hear your voices.
Yep.
We take all types of audio formats, including my personal favorite, FLAC.
I thought you were going to say Ogg Vorbis.
Of course, that's what everyone thought I was going to say.
Uh-huh.
MP3, LMNOP, QVC or Ogg Vorbis. Any of those audio formats.
We're even getting cab format now.
Are we really?
Yeah.
No way.
We can. I can handle it.
Cool.
Yep.
I like it.
All right, guys. Thanks for joining us for this episode of the Fringe Podcast. And until next time, stay Fringe-tastic.
And keep it nerdy.
The Fringe Podcast and Golden Spiral Media are not associated with Bad Robot Productions, Warner Brothers, or Fox. Golden Spiral Media's use of any and all copyrighted material is only for parody, news analysis, critique, or educational purposes as provided within United States Code Title 17, aka Fair Use. For advertising opportunities, our live show, and other Golden Spiral Media podcast productions, visit goldenspiralmedia.com. Copyright 2012, Golden Spiral Media.